Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, looking back to Lovecraft Country and the Secret World Interludes. Now this is probably going to be my last full interlude for the Solomon Islands. I'm a little ahead of this in the regular plot at this point, and I need to catch up, so bear with me on this. Now, the Interlude series, if this is new to you, is one where I just go over the lore of the Secret World. I find it kind of interesting to see how much material has the developers put into the creation of this game. Now, the support may have dropped off a bit lately these days, but, you know, we live in hope that one day we may actually be able to finish the Africa storyline. But at the moment, let's deal with the Franklin Mansion. Now, the Franklin Mansion is probably the oldest, it's the resident haunted house of the, shall we say, King country that the haunted coast of Maine provides for this game. Now, Stephen King, as I was, so to speak. These gives more of a Stephen King than a Lovecraft vibe, really. But Lovecraft did love his old spooky houses with dilapidated genealogy. And that's what this place is. It is the remnants of a once wealthy family. Now, this is something you're going to see a lot in New England. You are going to see a lot of really old houses that were built like at the turn of the 19th to 20th century or even earlier, where essentially you had Yankee trader captains who had entire fleets of ships bringing in goods to the coast before, you know, technology changed and the steam and later other forms of motorized power and for maritime vessels just made them obsolete. So what you had is they had all this stored money here in their houses and their lands, and their grandkids and great-grandkids basically had no way to maintain it. It just slowly dwindled over time. Now, in the particular lore of in the particular lore of this game, the Franklin House is also known as the DeVore Mansion, so it's got a long history and one deeply tied in with Dreamers. But let's deal with the present day. As you can see, the current... hello, Wilmoth. The current resident of the house is of course, a crazy cat lady. She's the last one of the Franklin family.
Hello there.
Hello. What's interesting is that the spirits in the house have kept the place free of both the fog and the zombies, so she doesn't really know what's going on, and I don't think I really want to tell her that she's about to be firebombed in the morning. So let's be as civil as we can about this, shall we? All right. Tell me about yourself, Ellen.
I'm sure my reputation precedes me, though only the trick-or-treaters make it past the private property sign these days. Ever since that Killian woman got run out of town, I've been the honorary island witch. A foul-tempered old widow who shut herself up in a haunted house for decades.
Now, if you remember, she's referring to the woman before this considered the resident witch, Killian, Carrie Killigan. Well, apparently it's a big day for me at the market. Who we saw back in the Black House mission was an actual witch, a local resident witch that the Illuminati decided to eliminate as being a potential issue, and they decided to eliminate her in a particularly horrible way by blaming her for child murders that were in fact being committed by Wendigo. It's a long story, and I covered it previously in other episodes. But yeah, it's that one thing about the Solomon Island sagas is that they are steeped in unnecessary tragedy. Carrie could have been left alone by Illuminati. All she cared about was giving out, poultices and reading palms. But, it's the Illuminati, the old school Illuminati, which tended to view people as threats as opposed to recruiting them, which is what they did with us, for example. And you can actually, like I said before, you can actually thank Kirsten for that, for what little improvement that was. Anyways, let's continue speaking with Miss Franklin here. Come on. Ugh, collapsed, unfortunately. There you go.
I've always trusted my cats as better judges of character, but maybe they got me on the temper. Old? Now that I'll argue. These are Saks Fifth Avenue. But there's that temper again.
Saks Fifth Avenue is referring to her shoes, which is a famous store in New York for rich people. Remember, she has inherited wealth, but not much else at this point.
My friends always told me to come back to Long Island or to Manhattan. They still do, every now and again. I was a city girl once, but I'd grown to dig this weird little rock. I couldn't leave it. I couldn't leave it. And I'd be afraid to see what had happened to the city since. You ever think time goes so slowly, but then you look outside and it's been rushing past like out the window of an airplane?
Yeah, I get that sometimes. Old enough for that. But yeah, she's been isolated up here in the unchanging environment of rural Maine. Trust me, I'm from rural Maine. I know how unchanging it gets. But the rest of the world just continues on, lurching towards its inevitable conclusion. Let's see if she knows about the house.
This house, well, you knew just to look at it that it was haunted, didn't you? A few coats of paint away from its best days, just like its owner. But it was never beautiful. Unlike its owner. I used to blame the Indians. Used to think they put their evil eye in the place to take our lives. And it did take our lives. Just dead quickly, and on its own sweet time with me.
Well, it is also sour ground, as you want to say. The dreamers are slumbering beneath here somewhere, and they do mess up the people. I mean, frankly, of the other residents of the mansion, these two have gotten off easy.
DeVore was the name of the man who built it. The Blue Ridge Mine as well.
Illuminati?
The story goes the Indians cursed him for his troubles, whatever he did or didn't do to rile him up, and he lost everything. He ended up dangling for the murder of his child bride.
That's correct. We actually did see that. There's one mission in here where you go through the magic mirror to the past, and you find out DeVore was driven mad by the dreamers and kills his wife and child. Now, the thing is, you prevent that from happening in the dream realm, but that just frees the souls of the child and the woman. They're dead, unfortunately, and they were just caught in the continuous loop of being killed by their husband. Kind of depressing to think that the innocent being punished. Yes, he was Illuminati. As we earlier in the plot, we noted the Illuminati stole the land from the Indians and then, well, natives, and then messed it up badly. This was one of the reasons we're in this mess.
As I was saying, I used to blame the Indians, too. I called them vengeful folk who never forgave some grievance a generation old. When you look for a grudge, you find one. Oh, they were caught up in things, all right. But this house was just built bad.
So what you think about the locals?
You picked the wrong part of the island for people watching, and the wrong season, too. I remember the old summers with those Mattahando kids splashing in the river, the morning mist boiling off the marsh. Now you won't be spotting anything through this pea super.
Yeah. She doesn't know there's an abnormal fog. She doesn't know about the undead. She doesn't know about the eldritch abominations rising under her feet. I don't think telling her is a kind thing to do. Let her die peaceful.
I don't get out to see people much. I don't really get out further than the porch at all. Just sitting with a book and the whippoorwills. Henry Hawthorne would come out and try to save my soul every few months. And every time I tell him it's much too late for that. He likes to sketch the house. Says he's real big on late period architecture or something.
All right, so the reason for that is, remember that Henry, way back when we met at the Kingsmouth Church, is a member of the Illuminati, although not a very large member of them. And he knows that there's a secret room in this house. He knows that that secret room has a lot of lore. But he doesn't know is everybody who's found that lore went crazy and murdered a whole bunch of people. We'll cover that in a moment. Anyways, I'm not fond of Henry. He's one of the ones who helped kill Carrie there.
And Helen Bannerman, or worse luck, her gormless deputy, are duty-bound to check I haven't died in my sleep and stunk the place up. She calls me Ellie, and I tell her, now you look here. I remember when you were still learning to walk. Terrible shame what happened to her father. Gutted fish and tragedies, that's Kingsmouth. Much as I ever made of it.
Pretty much. I don't know exactly what happened to her father, but he was probably the sheriff before her and probably stumbled into something he couldn't handle. One of the reasons Helen knows what's going on to a degree, for example, she's utterly clueless that her husband is the Illuminati.
Survived the storm? Well, hell, I'm a tough old bird. You ask anyone in town. I survived it the same way I always do. Battening down the hatches and just sitting it out. I do recall the cats taking a real hating to this one. Hissing and spitting, tails up like chimney brushes, but they're ornery creatures. Most of them were yelling before their mom even finished biting through the cord.
Oh, there's an image. Yeah, remember, the storm is actually an infection vector. She's breathed in the mist, she's infected by the filth. She would eventually succumb, but the Illuminati will, in the morning, firebomb the place and then prevent it from spreading. The thing is that it's kind of... See, the thing is, when we go back in time to the portals, it's still 2012, and this is still the same day repeating over and over again. The only thing that's changed is the main plot line, which is essentially what the immortals, Loki and I, were doing between each other to try to to bring about or prevent the end of the world. The funny thing is this is actually happening before Tokyo. Tokyo was the initial incident, and we have gone back in time 3 years from that period. It's hilarious if you try to... Well, it makes you hurt your brain if you try to think about it too hard.
This fog is outstaying its welcome, though. They must have put a real dampener on the town Halloween. Haven't had a single knock at the door until you showed up. Not that I'm complaining, but I do resign myself to the visits this time of year.
Yeah, kids can be a bit much someday. Unfortunately, they're wandering around eating people now.
A couple of times I thought I spied some folks out in the gardens, but Ed said no, it was nothing. Wait for it to blow over, he said, same as that big Halloween storm in 91.
Yeah, Ed is her husband and dead, and that doesn't mean much in this. We've actually met him as a spirit in the house. Now, for example, the developers had a pretty good idea of what the architecture of places like this. Remember, it's heyday.
We have some visitors.
You may be a little senile. 19th century. Now, the hidden way to get in here. Let's see if I can get that. Boom. This is the hidden library, as you can see. Ooh, we can use an oil lamp. Ah, excellent. As you can see, this is the hidden room that Henry Aldworth and the Illuminati are incompetently looking for. PB, patterns and patterns. As you can see, this is the wall of crazy. Dead suns, quiet ridge, scream of life exhausted. These referring to the dreamers. They contact people who go through these books, which is essentially the Necronomicon and its kin, I'm sure. There is not really a way to look at the titles themselves, even close up, but it gives the ambiance, and I have no idea who that is, or nor why there is a red ghost. But there is the Illuminati wards here, which are horribly ineffective, apparently, as well as a really old globe. But yes, this is the secret. Anybody who stumbles in here goes crazy, worships the dreamers, and then slaughters everybody around them. We can actually notice that during the mission, and if I've got time, I'll do a quick recap of the house in earlier periods. But this is the 19th century furniture. Essentially, you've got the... for God's sakes. You've got the storage of the books, the good china here. You've got, decent furniture that's really old. I mean, apparently it's Bible and television. And the kitchen hasn't really been updated much quickly either. It's a single microwave. But let me tell you something. My grandmother's cottage had a refrigerator just like this from the 1940s, and the thing still worked to 1997. And possibly beyond that point, but that's about when she sold it. Well, it was sold. Unfortunately, she died. Well, things do pass. But yeah, the carpets, again, of the period. The furniture, she doesn't want to bother. Keep it down! Dust, and of course the ghosts. New England is rife with them. And decent art, though. And as you can see, you can take a good look out at the grounds here, but you may not want to at this point. The Akab literally are being kept away from the ghosts. Not the fence, obviously. As well as everything else. You can drag them in if you want to, because, spirits can only make things so safe. But, oh yeah, don't forget, this is Akasha, one of my favorite pets. The Owl of Wisdom. I like to think she's Athena's. Old pictures. Probably most of the furniture has been sold. And, of course, the attic. Now, this is where I call bullshit, because, well, the whispering ghosts are probably authentic, but most attics you're going to find in New England this old are going to be crammed with stuff. It's quite possible she just had it all taken out, thrown away, except for the essentials. And this mirror is a gateway into the past. Like I said, I can activate the appropriate mission to go out and get it. Ooh, that's a pretty good shot. But that's, like I said, I'll have to do a quick fade for that to avoid a lot of the interim stuff. But before we go any further in that regard, let's talk about the grounds. I do love that magic bee power. The grounds themselves were originally essentially a large park that was a private park that they kept around here to essentially show they could. I mean, if you think about it, manor houses exist to say, hey, I'm rich, I control this really awesome land, isn't it great? But the tragedy of that, and since somebody comes from the East Coast can tell you, especially New England, is that this is the end result. You can't maintain this sort of stuff. It's a massive amount of energy, both in money and manpower. One day you just dwindle out and it turns into something overgrown, something from King and Lovecraft. And as you can, the CDC van, by the way, is just an Oriachi front that's part of a mission. He came in and tried to capture a ghost for experimentation purposes. And as you can see, the wrought iron fence, pretty authentic for 19th century, the benches, But again, there's no one to enjoy it. Just ruins of what used to be. And this swimming pool / ornamental reflecting pool or whatever it was, just a marsh. Excuse me. Sorry. Unfortunately, given the time of season, I'm going to be prone to getting colds, so you're going to have to cope with that. I'll do my best. The family vault, which essentially is its own freaking sublayer. With one mission, I did in 2018 Halloween special, allows you to get in there, the meowling. It's pretty interesting. Massive amounts of occult lore, haunted, being occasionally occupied temporarily by a demon. The link to it's about there if I remember to do that. If I don't, just remind me in the comments, okay? But yeah. Bay windows. This essentially thing out here is called there's a cupola-like structure. It just provides an extension. It was an architect sort of design that they did for the built houses like this. I'm not entirely sure why. Just maybe to buttress the larger structure in the foundation. But yeah, you can't even keep up with the deadfall at this point. These deadfall would have been probably from the storm she indicated that happened just before we arrived. But in any case, what I'm going to do next, hang on, is I'm going to pop off into my spirit form, burn my body off, and we're going to see how many ghosts are in this place. Because remember, I'm a spirit too. I can see them when I'm not wearing a body. So hang on. Okay, so here we are in the spirit realm. I dropped dead over there in the front. And as you can see, the place is kind of restless. We can't even interact with them, but these are the ghosts that are haunting the place. They're using the generic ghost. No, I do not want to. Come on. All right. Generic ghost graphic character, whatever you want to call it. Brain's about failing right now. And these essentially would be the family wraiths just kind of wandering around, forgetting. Although this guy's kind of creepy. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Alright, I don't know what that guy's for business is. But yeah, these are the wraiths guarding the family tomb, and they're part of a, Who are you? Oh, she's one of the victims of the... yeah, the kid and this girl are victims of the house's earlier rampages. You come to rescue her, actually, when you go back in time. Not really rescue her, but at least get her out of, the purgatory that is hovering around this place. The Guardians are part of one of the missions you get from Eleanor over there. And, of course, I can't enter the crypt as the mission for the Halloween isn't active. Now, the crows obviously both exist in material and spiritual form, one of the reasons they're considered magical. But let's pop inside and see what we can see. No. Hang on. Hi. Yep. You gotta be Ed, don't you? Hi, Ed. Guarding the door, not letting anybody get your wife. I approve. But as you can see, there's... I think she's from the 60s massacre. Let's see what else we got. Oosh. That was a lot. Bathroom. Thank God, no suicide. Yeah. Anybody who's ever played, Eternal Darkness, which, my God, I'd love to play for this site, but for this channel, I mean. This is the maid that you saved from the secret room back in the first time zone, and here, interestingly, the television's off. Are you watching TV? No, nothing good on, I guess. Instead of being staticky, I've never quite understood that one. Ghost coffee. I gotta keep going. After all, you can be around for eternity. You have to, gotta get a cup, Joe. But, yes, up here, relatively clear. Well, except for you. I think he's the old butler. Yeah, now we're one of the whispering ghosts. But, you head up here, and it's still strangely empty. Doesn't seem to be a coherent ghost in here. Oh, except for you. You wonder who this from that one is. I think Ed's got the front door, so this means that these guys are supposed to be the random help. But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go pop back into my body. So welcome back to the land of the living. Oh, I lost the owl. Hang on. Gosh, don't go on me. Alright. You cool? We're cool. Okay, so, outside of the grounds and the protection of the spirits, the Akab, of course, are everywhere. despite being over-leveled, some of them will actually still charge me. This, of course, is the access road. It goes up to the just south of the quarry, but it's also kind of funny in that the far end of it over here has lights and a speeding sign, despite it being a dead end. I'm gonna guess there's some sort of county graft going on here. Excuse me. Oh, like I said. Ow. Dude. I was just gonna do my thing. Just in case. I was just gonna do my thing, and then you had to get up in my business. Ugh, forget you. Alright, so this particular mission deals with an unfortunate golem maker. This... You! Language! Thank you. Silence, please. As you can see, the Moonbog is not quite in what shape it used to be. Now, this is an ecological ruin for the Illuminati's problem. They failed to maintain their filth waste disposal and just dumped it into the Moonbog. Moonbog is actually a Lovecraftian reference. It's a little-known dreamscape story that he wrote early in his career, and it's readable. Not his best. I'll give him that. I'll give that. But the thing is that down there isn't really much good. Now I'll get hit with filth if I hit it, and most of them over-leveled, too over-leveled for most of these guys. So they'll ignore me unless I choose to kill them. But as you can see, yeah, this used to be a much nicer place. These swamps are the ecological backbone of our world, and their current condition, you know, without metaphysical filth, is pretty bad in the real world. But as you can see, this area is loaded with filth. There was one mission that lets you temporarily, you know, hold it off for a bit, but this place is doomed. I'm not even sure the firebombing is going to help. Now, behind the mansion, up here where we have the Cobb, this is a hiking trail. Now, there are a lot of small parks in rural Maine. They're set up by the state and just kind of benevolently neglected. You'll find, like, 30-year-old benches just sitting there, and the trail is just kind of meandering into the grass like this. So it's an effective amount of research here. Excuse me. Bug hunt. I hate those things. Yes, there's the mansion over there. Okay, a lot of stuff happening. But this is the park. And as you can see, the Cobb being like the worst supercharged kind of mosquito everywhere, ruining it for everyone by essentially taking over this moist territory over here, the non-filth infected wasteland, as you might think of it. Doing a little extermination while I'm here. And the thing is, the path itself will resume back here. Excuse me, sir. Oh, that's interesting. The sound went wonky in that. But yeah. I love the old growth of Maine, but oh my god, do I hate it when Stephen King or Lovecraft get a hold of it. Ew, guys. It's just disgusting. PC tablet. Let's see. Ah, it's over this direction. The last bit of the park that's still remaining on this trail, Joanna's Trail, which I don't know why it's called Joanna's Trail. Probably due to some tragedy, of course. There, I'll pay the toll. But yeah. This is the last part of the park itself here, who's got a lot of dead trees. But could you honestly see yourself walking this far? Excuse me. Just for this picnic table? In this backwater? And like I said, it's got to be state graft. County graft, city graft, whatever it is. Hey, let's put a park here nobody's going to go to. And, by the way, my brother's the one who's going to build it. Manners! No spitting. Oh, that was quick. Anyways, to not have to go through this again, I'll pop off to the next section. Okay, so I activated the magic mirror, and here we are currently in, I believe, 1908. Near the beginning of the time when it was constructed, like I said. 1904, sorry. The Kingsmith really hasn't changed that much, has it? But the 19th and 20th centuries. This is, of course, more how I expected the attic to actually look, with the unused furniture. These would be put out for the feasts and such when they come. They have all their friends over to tell them how rich they are. All of the furniture and boxes and stuff that they never use but had bought anyways, and probably still buying more. But let's go see what the rest of the house looks like in 1904. I'm going to try to avoid doing as much as I can of the actual mission, because you can see that. Oh, hang on a second. There's some issues. Anyway, so as you can see, it hasn't really changed much, except, it's a bit cleaner. The decor is fresh, and the furniture is out. This is what it looked like when it first happened. And as you can see, the grounds really haven't changed that much. Still foggy. In this case, it's probably more mundane fog. Or that's the fact that this is actually the other world. This is the underworld, of course. This is the prison holding the spirits that were of torment in the house. Not just the ones wandering about the place. And it's still got the same lamps, though. Okay. Bit more furniture, bit more decor, bit more lived in, despite it being populated by the undead. Oh, hang on a second. Somebody wants to play. Bitter? Now you're bitter and re-dead. And the front hall. Family Bible, obviously not much good. Excuse me, sir. Again, looks pretty much the same. It might just be recycling some of the assets, because I think I saw the branches from the storm in the present. Like, oh, definitely different types of art here. Sometimes I stop and just look at some of the details they put in here. But yeah.
Is there anybody out there?
This is... You'll notice something, by the way. The cat is here, Amsbury, because this is the fact the cats can slip in between worlds. They see the ghosts see them, and I can see them from the spirit realm where I am. Oh, I gotta find the key? Is that what's going on? Excuse me, ma'am. Do you have the key? Anyways, that's the servant girl who got trapped in 1904 and died in there in mysterious circumstances. And yes, you can see it's the original kitchen, although they don't have a refrigerator in 1904. Mysterious circumstances being that the better servants killed her, probably driven to her by the Dreamers. The Dreamers seem to entice people to kill each other. Let's see, what are we missing? But as you can see, this is the 1904 version. Now, her death is what locks it in this point. And during the mission, I had just happened to free her and unlock the whole... she passes through the underworld, hopefully, to get where she's supposed to go. Now, I'll slip over to the next time zone. Okay, so here we are, a little further down the timeline. 1918, I think? What's it say over here? As you can see, the attic hasn't changed much, although it seems to be a bit more disused. 1918, yes. World War II has just happened. Well, it's going to drive you crazier than crazier than the Eldritch Abominations will. But as you can see, not much has changed. They've just been doing the whole family thing for the last 14 years after the maidservant was killed. And as you can see, the only real difference here is it's daylight outside and it's winter. Now, I got reminded, by the way, on the introduction to the mission that the Joanne Trail behind here is actually Joanne, excuse me. Hey, you. I was monologuing. Anyways, the Joanne Trail is from Joanne Depore, which would be one of the founders of this house. Okay, so that's at least an answer. Aha, got you. But, as you can see, nothing really much has changed. Let's take a quick look outside. A few times we can actually see the past exterior in better detail. Ah, here we are. Just take a quick look in here. Probably nothing's changed. I'm guessing these are probably the corrupted servants at this point. Alright, what do we got?
Thomas, come inside. Your dad's on his way.
Right. Margaret and Thomas are victims of a patricide, which is when the father decides to wipe out the entire family and then kill himself. It's the fact that there is a freaking term for it now is kind of nuts. But as you can see, we're in the delightful New England winter, which means if it snows this thin, it's got to be like September. Excuse me. Help this. Guys, I'm just narrating here. You don't have to be nuts about this. But as you can see back here, well, as you can see, the same fence is still standing, so it hasn't really changed in 100 years either. The thing about these old places is they're kind of static. The crypt exists, but the pool does not. It hasn't been created yet. Okay. Oh, hi. And there's the cat playing with the ghost, which is kind of appropriate, really.
Mom, where are you?
Oof. Toy rifle. God, it's about to happen next. Let me take the long way around because this won't activate till I get in there. But as you can see, it's the original decor from 1918 to the present day. It's just gotten a lot creepier. And why is there electricity in 1918? I really don't think that these guys have lamplighters for this sort of thing. I mean, do you see power lines? Are there power lines in 1918? Probably. Oh my god, the exteriors. They're using the same thing. They don't even have the actual way it would look, unless this represents how crazy the father's gotten. In any case, so yeah, I'll be popping into the next time zone, which I think is 1966, which is when we have a helter-skelter moment. Hang on. Now, a 1966 attic looks almost exactly the same, does it? But this is not actually unusual. You can have stuff lying around in an old New England house for a century in the attic. You know, find either really expensive antiques or really toxic mold. Take your pick. But you can see some things are in fact missing. Now, this is 1966 when a group of hippies have bought the place for cheap and just, decided to let themselves rot as well as this. And the terrible wallpaper will prove that. But this is the, this is the infamous Massacre by Billy Lee, who's essentially a Charles Manson stand-in. If you don't know who Charles Manson is, you don't know your history that well. But yeah, he was a would-be prophet who promised salvation to all of his God, I get email from the past. Man, the Illuminati have a good service. Anyways, and instead turned them into a cult of vicious, psychopathic killers that served his every need. He's still in prison and alive at this point, and frankly, why, cat? Why are you here? God, bit of a dark fascination for that cat. Left me goes my magic bullets. But yeah, the Dreamcatchers. This could be a Stephen King reference to one of his lesser novels, The Dreamcatcher, the fact that these are the dreamers. Think about it. They, remember in this secret bookshelf back here, are influence people's dreams to drive them crazy, like Bobby Lee does. Now, we're going to see Bobby Lee kind of crazy. Oh yeah, these candles are definitely in the beer. This is the 60s. Cheap candles and cheap beer. And does this look like an artist's retreat to you, even pre-massacre? Somebody's all upset. And again, we get to see outside. And as you can see, it becomes severely overgrown. It's kind of funny in that the current resident is actually must have cut this back. But yeah, they have party tents. They have 1960s love wagons. Oosh. Time zone I want to go back to, as well as the Eye of Horus over here. Oh, excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, passing through. Let's check out the back. I think there's going to be post the pool. Hang on. It still considers me to be in combat, so I can't run. My apologies on that. You getting up? No? Cool. Stay there. Oh, fake me out, will ya? The Ungrateful Dead, there's a reference for you. Grateful Dead, famous 1960s band, lasted a long, long time, like into the this freaking century. But yeah, here's the actual pool itself. Excuse me. Still kind of marshy and reedy. So this must have been put in by whoever owned the place between the hippies and that. Which means somebody must have been here and actually tried to reboot the place a bit. But yeah, this is kind of depressing, like the 1960s were, just seedy neglect and mild ambition. Some people like to glorify the 60s, so just only see the mess. And of course, saving assets, they still have the branches went down. Anyways, I'm going to finish off this part and head back to the present. Hang on. Oh, God. One thing I hope is that these terrible incandescent versions of colored lights never come back. So, as you can see, Faithful Akasha is waiting for me as I pop back into the present. Well, the time loop that passes the present around here. Anyways, one of the last things I wanted to mention is that I really appreciate the ambience. It's unconscious to me, and maybe you notice it, but the This sounds so much like the coast of Maine where I grew up. Between the mist, the wind, mist doesn't really make sound, but you know what I mean. The birds, the rustling, it's about all I miss about there. Nature is great, but gotta say, I don't miss New England. It's just kind of like this place stuck in a past. It just is confusing to go forward, trying to remember some past glory. Not that the future looks terribly bright, but I don't think hiding from it really helps. In any case, before I get too maudlin and poetic here, this has been Fantastic World saying farewell from Lovecraft Country and the Secret World Interludes, and this is probably going to be the last full one I do, like I said, for Solomon Island. The next one will probably be a quick recap of things I didn't think of the first time around I did this, called Farewell Kingsmith, and then we'll move into Egypt. And Egypt's going to be brief, because I really do not like the lore there, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But I'll do what I can about the situation. In any case, I'll see you next episode. If you like this, like, share, subscribe, and it helps the channel grow and unlocks new episodes, bonus episodes every 25 subscribers. Next goal is 100, and we'll be making a new treat, the Paranormal Radio Theater, which was inspired by the paranormal radio mission known as the Broadcast in this game. More details coming, but in any case, see you next time.
You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything or to become a god. To stand with us or against us. The choice